Boris Sanchez was talking to Stephen Miller about this today and asked him, actually, the truth is, when you listen to this, the question was actually about the profiling of Latinos, but here's how Stephen Miller responded to that question.
He also says that you are profiling, that you're targeting black and brown people, even those who turn out to be here legally. What's your response?
Well, first of all, the black people in Chicago are thrilled that we're getting the illegal aliens out of their communities who are stealing their housing, jobs, and resources. The illegal aliens who are here are taking jobs away from blacks, they're taking jobs away from whites, they're taking jobs away from Latinos. We cannot have a system of law in this country that privileges illegal aliens over American citizens.
I love the idea that Stephen Miller has a pipeline to the black community in Chicago and knows what black people in Chicago are thinking. I kind of doubt that's the case.
But he does understand the politics of division.
Well, absolutely.
He understands that very well.
You know, it is true that the mayor of Chicago is not allowed to obstruct the work of ICE. And I think some of what he said comes very close to obstructing that. And that's just simply not the law. He's right that people inside buildings can demand a warrant from ICE if they can, and they're not obliged to let them in. But it is also true that you know, you can call yourself a sanctuary city or whatever you want, but under the law, a locality is not allowed to interfere with the work of ICE, much as they want
interfering, just to say that you can't use this particular property of ours that the city owns to launch your facility. Now, whether that means they can, if they're engaging in some other activity and they happen to be on there, you can decide that because you're the professional expert on this. But I don't think they're talking about interfering. I think they're just talking about making sure that their property isn't being used for that purpose. It's the same reason. I mean, I lived in Los Angeles for 4 years, where Trump sent in national troops, and I'm sending National Guard troops, and you know they used the same justification. They had to do this because supposedly there was some great calamity that didn't exist, and they accused people of interfering with the facility, the federal building in downtown Los Angeles, and there's no interference. What Trump does is he creates a provocation, and then people respond to that.
I got to disagree with you on that.
De-escalating.
I'm also in LA, and the protests against ICE in LA got super violent. They were literally throwing cinder blocks at LAPD.
After Trump sent in, I was there every single day reporting on the ground.
That's fair. It was after
the federal building.
It was after Trump sent the federal.
But that's my point, Anna. Trump creates a crisis, and this is what happened in Portland. I saw the pictures in Portland a few days ago. There were like 10, 15 people. They were blowing bubbles and stuff. Then Trump sends in the National Guard. You've got hundreds of people there. Trump creates a crisis.
He does.
And
that's true.
How is the crisis?
How is the crisis not created? It's fine for ICE to carry out its duties. The problem that I have is that they are terrorizing American citizens and doing it. You're ICE. You just got this massive influx of federal money. You're not able to do a targeted raid where you know exactly which units these people are in.
Just answer one question. Why are Democrats okay with immigrants not being able to follow the law? Why is that okay? Why is that the one law?
Nobody said that.
So
That's a straw man.
why, when the enforcement happens, why is it such a problem? Why is the protest always against ICE? Why is the protest always for sanctuary cities? Why isn't the protest for law enforcement?
Very quickly.
The answer is that law enforcement says that if they have to cooperate with ICE, that means that local immigrant communities will feel less likely to actually cooperate with the police.
Who are the good guys? The police or the people breaking the law? Who are the good guys? The police or the people breaking the law?
The local police are saying that they don't want to be co-opted in the ICE campaign because it makes people less likely to cooperate with them.
I just think it's always important to point out there is almost universal agreement in this country that criminal people who are undocumented should be kicked out of the country. Virtually.
Really? I remember the Democratic primary. The Democratic primary. They asked every candidate.
Hold on a second.
Who thinks there should be free health care for illegal immigrants? They all raised their hand. Every one of them. Every one of them.
That's a red herring.
That was people who are here.
Let her speak, please. She's talking about criminals.
That's not really in dispute here. But what has also happened over the last 9 months is that there are people going into courthouses to follow the legal procedures, having their cases administratively closed, and then getting arrested right outside the courthouse doors. So there's both things happening. Yeah, they are going after criminals, but they're actually going after a lot of people who are not criminals as well, and that is what's building the heat in this country in terms of the antagonism between law enforcement and regular Americans, because a lot of this is regular Americans who are frustrated.
If there's a gang on a street corner that the police know there's shootings, and they roll up on the street corner, are they not going to stop and frisk everyone?
If there is a gang on the street corner, they should go after the gang on the street corner. And nobody disputes that.
fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.